Hello. In this video, I'm going to share my process for making this life-size, full-body Pikachu puppet out of a few sheets of paper. Welcome along. My name is Ben Stanley and I design and create paper puppets, and this is Pikachu, and he's a Pokemon. Pikachu! On this channel, I share how I make working replicas of beloved Muppets, puppets, characters and creatures. So if papercraft's your thing, please consider subscribing. Pika! Yeah, and click that bell to get notifications about future videos if you do so. Well, I'm really excited about this. Well, Pika Pika, yeah, we're both excited, aren't we? Because Pikachu has been a lot of fun to make and he's a lot of fun to play with as well. So I'm excited to share how we make him. And actually, he's got a lot of personality. Pika Pikachu! Come back here, Pikachu. Yeah, so basically, I wasn't necessarily going to share the template for this one, but then as I went along, I thought actually he's not too difficult to make. I mean, there's some tricky bits like these ears, but I thought I'd give you a chance to do it. As I say, it's been a lot of fun. My tip to you, and that's for making any of the templates that I share, is don't start with all the coloured paper. Start simple with some white paper and just go for it and make all the mistakes, get through all the tricky bits, and then once you're happy with it, then go for the full colour version, and you'll hopefully end up with something like this. Pika Pika! Yeah, so should we get on with it? This is how you can make your very own life-size Pikachu puppet. Pika Pika! So Pikachu takes about 14 sheets of A4 paper to make, and it's an interesting challenge to create a 3D puppet from a 2D cartoon character, because cartoons can stretch and do movements that wouldn't be possible in 3 dimensions. So although I kept the simplicity of the cartoon look for its eyes and other facial features, I took inspiration from the body proportions of the Detective Pikachu film version. So we've started here where I like to start with all my puppets really, which is with the face. And I'm just sort of cutting out here the ears, that's where the ears are going to go. And this crease that I'm doing here is actually to create a bit of chin definition for Pikachu, because he's got quite a distinctive chin in the cartoon, so I wanted to sort of honour that. And here I'm sort of gluing together all of the cuts that I made that will allow the sort of 3-dimensionality of the face. And obviously I'm not going to show you the gluing every time, but each one of those is glued. And here it is sort of crimping that sort of chin area, folding it and then folding it back. And hopefully you'll see it gives that sort of face dimensionality. The next bit is to do the sort of top or the back of the head here. And again, it's just a case of making the cuts and then gluing the flaps together. And all the flaps have got sort of little markings on them. And then a rare bit of cutting after folding. It's usually cut, then fold, but in this case it was actually easier to start the folding and then finish the cut. And then it's a case of gluing the back of the head onto the front of the head. And again, there's some markings that I've created to help out with that. And hopefully what you're getting is a head with a nice curvature to it. And this next section is, I suppose, the neck, I guess. And again, it's a sort of challenge to myself to be able to create as many of these pieces just from a single sheet of A4 paper. And so I found going corner to corner gave me just enough length. And this is really going to sort of give the head strength at the bottom. It's going to sort of keep it in place there. So it's a case then of gluing it in and using the bits I'm gluing now, using those as guidelines towards the bottom of that collar to sort of glue it in place, and that will really just strengthen everything up and allow the head to rotate inside the body later on when we get to that part. And here the sort of final flaps just sort of gluing down so that there's room for it to manoeuvre around. And then we're onto the ears, and this score bit here is just going to be the base of the ear. So it's just a case of gluing it round into sort of a cone, and then once we've folded this bit down, it's then gluing the second part of it in, the sort of lower part of the ear in, which sort of brings it out. And not perfect shaped ears, but hopefully they give a little bit of shape to it. And this here is the sort of going to be the fulcrum, I guess, or at least the ring through which the fulcrum of the ear is going to sort of rotate, or at least move backwards and forwards. And this is just going to glue here onto the bottom of the ear. I'm going to create a sort of lever, I guess, here, and strengthening it a little bit with a tiny bit more card there, because you want it to be nice and strong when you're sort of flicking it with your fingers in the sort of mechanism at the back. So this is just going to glue onto the ring, and then that will in turn glue onto the ear. And then again, it's just a case of once we've glued that on, strengthening it a bit by putting some paper around, and then here we're just sort of neatening it up a bit for the front so that we can try not to see too many joints. And then we're adding in this piece of paper, which is, as I say, going to be the fulcrum of it, the bit round which is going to turn, and we just sort of flatten this down, and then we're going to glue the edges, and that's going to glue into the back of the head in a second. But first of all, we're just folding these little flaps, which are going to help to allow the ears themselves to move, to give them a bit of mobility. So they're gluing in at the top here, and you just got to find the right spot here. So it's a bit of trial and error, but you'll get there, and you can see it's then going to move, and the second ear goes in. And once that's glued in, and the glue takes a second to go, you can see here how you're going to sort of move the levers there, and that'll move the ears up and down. And then of course we're gluing in the top of the head, and then finally we're going to glue these little flaps onto the ears. And it's really important when you're gluing the top flaps to push the ear down as far as it'll go on both sides, so that'll allow as much movement as possible. And again, the bottom flaps, you need to push the ear up as much as possible to allow that movement in both cases, so that'll give it the sort of freedom to move up and down. And here I'm just teasing the mouth open so that the sort of mouth mechanism can come easily in and out of it. To some extent, what I was trying to do is avoid it looking like a tongue when it comes out, so I've decided to go with black rather than a sort of inner mouth colour. So the mouth mechanism is actually going to sort of be worked by the middle finger. So here I'm creating a little sleeve for the finger, and that's going to glue on to the mouth part, and then we'll just secure it on. And basically this is going to just sort of be moved by your finger in and out of the mouth to allow it to look as if the mouth is opening. So you can see that here, it just goes in at the back, and then you move your finger up and down, and the mouth opens and closes. Get a better view of it here. There you go. So that's how you're going to make Pikachu talk. And then here, this is kind of a handle that allows you to basically hold your hand in there, and it kind of allows you to take the weight of the whole puppet, and also actually just keeps your hand nice and firm and still, so you can concentrate on the mouth and ear mechanism. So then we're on to the body, and this is a case of gluing 2 sheets of A4 paper together, and then we're going to kind of create that sort of cylindrical body shape. Cutting into it, as you've already seen there, and then gluing together the cuts. And again, I'm not going to show you every bit of glue in there, but you'll see it sort of comes together. There's not a lot else to say about this, so I'll just talk about the fact that I was hoping this puppet was going to be a lot more intense in terms of its yellow colour. I actually had some really beautifully intense yellow paper, but it was only 80 GSM, and it's normal paper thickness, but it was just a bit too thin for the whole thing. And actually what I ended up with is using 160 GSM, which is bordering on cardboard. I think probably 120 would have been ideal, but anything less, it's just going to feel a bit fragile. And anyway, I was promised this intense yellow when I went to buy the card, but unfortunately it ended up being not quite as bright as I'd hoped. But actually, he's still pretty yellow, and that's the main thing. And next we're on to the arms, and with this puppet I wanted to create some little hound rods, and what I used were some unfolded paper clips. And actually what I've done is put them on both of them, and I'm left-handed, so for me I have the hand at the back of the head, and I'll use the sort of rod on the right hand of the puppet, but I've put them on both just in case. And here we're sort of creating some nice little, it's got quite chubby arms, hasn't he, Pikachu? So I'm sort of trying my best here to give them some shape and give them that sort of slightly chubby feel. And then with this, we're gonna before we sort of close it up and glue it, we'll be putting a paper fastener in there, and then we're just going to draw in some fingers and just cut those out a little bit, give them a bit of definition. And then finally we're gluing the top here and just sort of folding it round so you can see as little of the folds as possible when you see the outside of the arm. And then this arm, we're just going to give him a bit of definition around the fingers with a black marker pen. And then the next thing to do is to add these hands into the body. And this, again, we're just going to sort of puncture some holes in there. A bit tricky here trying to get the paper fastener through because you don't want to squish the hands, but they'll eventually go through there. And then they've got quite a lot of movement in terms of up and down, and a little bit of movement left to right as well. So to attach the head to the body, we're using 2 strips of paper that are going to be glued at the front and back of the collar at the top, and then at the base of the body. And you really want to glue it at the point at which you want the head and body to be most apart, so basically you can't pull the head out. And then once you've glued it there, that's actually going to allow left and right turning of the head and a bit of up and down as well, to give him sort of the ability to look around. And the next section are his feet, and in order to allow the puppet to sort of stand freely, what I've done here is attach the 2 feet together at the back, and it'll eventually glue at the back of the body. And I've folded the paper quite a lot to give it that sort of strength, and here we're just going to sort of glue in the toes. And I'm going to draw in some toes there on both sides, and then it's a case of folding the back section upwards, and then, as I say, that's going to be glued and then put in at the back there. It'll take a second to glue in, but eventually that'll give him the ability to stand up on his own. And the final bit of the puzzle is to create his tail. So here's just a sort of strengthener which is going to go on the tail there, and we'll glue it onto another sheet of paper, and then we'll cut that through so you've sort of got nice, that strengthener is hidden, and you've got a nice strong tail, and then it's glued at the bottom and then folded a little bit, and that's his tail. So there you have it. That's how to make a life-size Pikachu puppet out of a few sheets of paper. Pikachu! Exactly. Thanks so much for watching, we really appreciate it. And if you like the puppet, maybe consider liking the video, and also let us know what you think about the puppet in the comments, or maybe just share who your favourite Pokemon is. Oh, it's you, is it? Pikachu! Okay, fair enough. Thank you so much for watching, we really do appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Take care, bye bye. Pika pika pika!